We're on the phone now with Texas Congressman Ron Paul. Dr. Paul, thank you so much for being with us.
Good to be with you.
Now let's start with the so-called stimulus, or as you and many are calling it, a spending package. What is the bigger problem with this bill? Is it the pork spending that everyone seems to be harping on, or is it the other $750 billion of spending in the bill?
Well, for me, it's the whole principle of government intervention. We got into this mess by government spending too much, borrowing too much, and printing too much money. And they're expecting to get out of that problem by doing the very same thing. It's like an individual who may be deeply in debt and hadn't been working for a long time, and they say, well, what we need to do is borrow more money. So the whole principle, even spending the first dollar, is incorrect. The only thing that they're doing, which is close to doing the right thing, and that is cutting taxes. But when you cut taxes, you got to cut all the spending as well.
I mean, are there any plans at this point in this package or in any foreseeable future to cut spending? I mean, that doesn't seem like to be part of the equation at all.
No, they absolutely aren't considering it, and they're warning the people that they'll spend a lot more if necessary. And the stage was set when the financial markets were bailed out, the banks and Wall Street, to the tune of literally trillions of dollars when you add up what the Federal Reserve pumped in. So therefore, it justified a more populist approach and said, well, if you can bail out the bankers and the car companies and the insurance companies, why can't you bail out the little guy? So it's contagious, and now everybody gets bailed out, and all the weight is being placed on the dollar. And right now, it seems to be absorbing it fairly well under the conditions, but it won't last because you just can't print dollars endlessly and expect the money to maintain its value.
Absolutely. And at this point, what do you think the government should be doing? I mean, is some spending prudent in your eyes, like on roads or infrastructure, or is it just seems like to be throwing money at this when private industry should be working its magic?
Well, they should be out of the business of spending, but under the circumstances that highways and all have been a part of the federal government for a long time, you could have a transition where you could say, look, if the government has to spend money, highways wouldn't be the worst way to do it, but so much of this other spending is just pure pork and intervention. But if they just take money out of the productive economy and put it into highways, who knows, this money could have been more productively spent. But if you're going to put it in infrastructure, you should get the money from overseas spending. We're spending up to $1 trillion a year maintaining an empire that I don't think we should be doing. And we're now expanding our role around the world because we're talking about a lot more troops in Afghanistan and continuing the bombing of Pakistan. So if you do that, it just is endless. But, you know, if you cut $50 billion out of the foreign operations and put 25 toward the deficit and pump 25 billion into the roads, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for us.
So a much more limited package. And just sort of a prediction, I mean, you called this about a month or 2 months ago when we were talking during the first bailout, and you said, well, now it's going to be the little guy. They're going to start getting the bailout, individuals. What do we see from here? Is there going to be more spending? Are we going to be giving out more of our tax dollars to individuals, small businesses, and foreign countries? I mean, who knows what's next?
Yeah, there's no sign it's going to slow up. It's going to continue. But to me, the significant shift has been that when the deflationary pressures were there in the financial markets of bankruptcies of banks, the tremendous increase in the credit propped it up. Although it didn't salvage the whole system, at least it propped up the financial markets. Now the shift toward the individual and the smaller guy means that dollars will be put into the hands of average people. I think this will lead to the price inflation. So far, all this printing of money has not led to price inflation. But I think we're shifting now. In the next 6 months to a year, I think everybody should expect to see a lot more inflation. Already we're witnessing the lack of enthusiasm to buy our debt. Even this week, the 10-year Treasury bill, its interest rate is going up, and that's a sign that inflation is coming.
Absolutely. Dr. Ron Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.